But yeah.
Yeah.
And no matter what, it'd be called tank up.
You would also close down immediately that shop because Blizzard would sue you for copyright infringement.
Me and Blizzard have a deal.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. I don't touch his stuff. He doesn't touch my stuff.
Gotcha. Let you cast APAC and you can have the tank up. That's what they're paying you.
Exactly. But Dan, you want to know something?
What's up?
I freaking love Control Warrior.
Do you? You still do? After all these years?
After all these years, I still keep coming back to it.
That's why I know you're a faithful man, TJ.
Indeed.
Your wife's a lucky gal.
I agree.
No bugs. Aaron's gonna queue up his druid just to see if he can get the win. This is, I think, his weakest match on paper because druid tends to struggle with killing the control warrior. We mentioned the fact that you might have limited damage. People can remember the days of Malygos rogue just fearing control warriors so much based off the fact that you just don't have enough damage past the sinister strikes. Very similar with Moonfires. If the warrior has Jessica Trueheart and they tank up, you're going to be in trouble. You're on a very very fine clock.
Yeah, one thing though is this druid deck from Aaron has a couple of extra big threats tucked in. And those threats being Ragnaros, being an Ancient of War, a Moonglade Portal can get some big things. So, plus the Malygos, plus the double Arcane Giant, plus the Emperor Thorsan. There's a lot of threats that the Warrior has to deal with, and I'm not sure if Che0nsu can handle it. There's a couple of interesting things about Che0nsu's deck, though. He's got a lot of one-ofs. He's got a Doomsayer in the deck. He's got an Arcanite Reaper in the deck. In the N'Zoth Warrior deck, he's also got a Tinkmaster Overspark. So all of these things are cards that you may not necessarily see in the list. The Tinkmaster Overspark especially is a card that's sort of a tech card for just to have a little bit of extra removal against must-remove threats. If you know you're going to be facing a lot of death rattles, do you think there's going to be a lot of rogues in the tournament? Tinkmaster Overspark can deal with big concealed things.
I mean, realistically, the Druid might be in a position where they just have to drop Malygos and hope Malygos can do damage by its own attack, like as a 4/12 minion going to the face. And you have Tinkmaster for those scenarios as well. You know, obviously not amazing against token-based druids, but it's still like on the fence with a lot of the people's decision-making on whether or not they like the token druid more than the Malygos. I think the Malygos just feels a lot more consistent with your game plan of playing a lot of spells, moving the board. Also because you get to play the frickin' Essence of Magic. Malygos is just cool.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. He's still cool. Like 2-3 years ago when Hearthstone first came out, everyone was like, oh, sweet, Malygos is awesome. And he's still cool.
Like David Hasselhoff.
Like David Hasselhoff. I'm really glad that Blizzard chose to honor him in Hearthstone with his own card.
Which is, so far today, has been Kindly Grandmother, Houndmaster, and now Malygos.
And now Malygos.
Indeed.
He is really versatile talent, man. He can do anything. Yeah. Maybe that's what should be done in Warcraft 2 movie. Hire David Hasselhoff, starring as Garrosh. And Medivh.
You'd have such
and Anduin.
You'd have like such a soft voice. Or the next Hearthstone expansion, every single card, even like the Beast cards, are just played by David Hasselhoff.
The entire expansion's voiced by him. It'd be great. Can't wait for him to do the reveal stream of that. Aaron just choosing to preemptively Wrath with the Azure Drake because just really cycle through and get a lot of the power into his hand. He ends up picking up the Moonfire. So next turn he has the Ancient of War. The following turns he actually has the Malygos available to him as well. So that actually dictates a lot of damage. One of the things about this matchup too as the Druid is you want to be able to not give the Warrior time. So even if the fact that Che0nsu has just a card, you know, you don't want to give him the time to tank up. You want to actually rush him. You don't necessarily you do want to draw, but you also want to give the fewest turns possible for Warrior to tank up.
Interesting line from Che0nsu. The one thing about this deck that we talked about has a lot of threats, and Che0nsu is using his removal very liberally here, and he's not utilizing his Fiery War Axe, which is a big thing. Sometimes when you're playing Control Warrior, you have to play a little more greedily, especially in this matchup where you can win by just running your opponent out of stuff. Eventually, they'll run out of damage.
Yes.
And you only do that by being a little bit greedy with your removals and utilizing your health early in the game as a resource in order to be able to gain it more efficiently in the late game.
I completely agree with you, TJ. I think Che0nsu might be playing too scared of what his opponent can do. I mean, you are afraid of Malygos burst, but we know that druids don't always play that win condition. They try to play a lot of minion pressure first as well. And as a result, Che0nsu has a lot of suboptimal removal. Look at this. He actually has to take the 5 damage anyways that he wanted to avoid. And, you know, he doesn't really have a good answer to Malygos if his opponent just plopped it on the board.
Yeah, both Shield Slam's gone. He still has, you know, 2 Executes left in the deck, Tickmaster Overspark left in the deck. But, you know, maybe he feels okay with that. You know, sometimes in matchups where you think you may not be favored, especially with a hand like this, you might think that it's better to just, you know, go all in. The earlier on in the game you play Malygos, the less likely they are to have that removal. If he were to execute Malygos, then he could play an Arcane Giant that would almost always stick, because how often does your opponent have both Shield Slams and both Executes in their top 12 cards of their deck?
That's a good question. I think Aaron's kind of calculating if he can do a Moonglade Portal and the Arcane Giant this turn, because you do want to bait out those Executes first. Malygos is probably the biggest threat immediately that Che0nsu will prioritize. You always want to have like an execute or a way to deal with Malygos in case your opponent put it out. In this case, Che0nsu has Brawl, and that would be his best chances to kill it off. Doesn't have a reasonable way to Moonglade Portal and to reduce the Giant to a cheap way without pitching things like Living Roots, so he just chooses instead to play the Giant straight up. And how will Che0nsu choose to deal with this? Does he want to toss in his Cairn? He's not even going to acknowledge it.
Well, I don't really mind this. Che0nsu has actually put on quite a bit of pressure, and with a 6-3 and a 4-5 on the board, and a Cairn on the board, that Arcane Giant might not hit face, and this is sort of investing to just... Whoa!
6, 12...
19 plus 8 is...
19, 27?
27.
So he's 6 damage off.
He could also Hero Power, so 28.
28.
So he's 5 damage off.
If only you could Wrath the face. Yeah, actually you can Wrath clear. I might actually consider doing this. It doesn't really get better than this.
This damage is all going to face anyway,
right?
In this matchup,
and you're not gonna really wait to have the maximum damage with Azure Drakes adding more damage to Moonfires and Living Roots. I definitely can get behind this too. Wrath cycling in case he's able to pick up a second Living Roots. That actually is the lethal right there.
Ooh.
Does not get it. But
let's get a Nurse, though, which is a great card after emptying your hand.
Yeah, another good point, too. That is 19 to the Dome, plus the Arcane Giant. And that is quite the combo. Che0nsu also has to deal with the fact that one of these minions might survive the Brawl. Unless he picks up Execute. Okay, Investitorin. Well, actually, I forgot about Revenge being active, too.
I don't know if Revenge really matters in this case. Well, okay. How much? So he could Revenge. Malygos would be at 9. He could slam the Arcane Giant and bash it. So he'd have 2 mana remaining, and the Malygos would still be at 9. He'd be 2 off with the Cairn attack plus the...
Probably this and just Brawl, and then Revenge... Nah, we'll see what happens with that Brawl attempt. But first, we're going to cross our fingers.
Oh, jeez.
Hope that Cairn is the mightiest minion of them all.
It is!
That is huge. That actually might be the game. Because Aaron tossed almost all of his big threats there, unless he's able to get something amazing off the Moonglade Portal or pick up his Giant, which he reasonably can because he has Nourish in his hand. But that could be the beginning of the end, unless, like we said, he picks up the Giant. That is really scary as well.
The one thing, though, about going sort of all in on a Control Warrior early on in the game and then failing to finish them off is the fact that they'll always be in Revenge range for the rest of the game, because essentially they're still going to keep gaining health. They're just going to gain armor instead. So that Revenge is going to be a 2 mana, 3 damage board sweep for the rest of the game. Unless he gets Alex Straza from Golden Monkey and uses it on himself.
Yeah, that is a possibility. Or Reno Jackson or some other things too, which are always really funny and humorous.
Yeah.
Aaron has the ability to innervate out the portal. He can also Living Roots.
I can Arcane
And
Giant for
Giant.
1.
Yeah, I get, it's just like one of those things you want to maximize it. Both Ram Shield.
I know a 3/9 anywhere when I see it, Dan.
Is that the only 3/9 minion in the game? I don't think so. That is the manliest weapon of all time. I love Arcanite Reaper. I think Gorehowl is a coward's weapon. I think Arcanite Reaper just speaks volume about a man's character. Slam to start things off from Che0nsu. You don't have to say anything, TJ. Just
Is there any other 3/9s in the game?
Oh, is that what you're thinking about?
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Rob Wing is looking at me, shaking his head vigorously no. So I trust him.
I mean, there's ways to get to 3/9 through, you know, health manipulation and stat buffing. Both Ram Shield, of course, dying because Che0nsu gets to attack the face directly, and that is one of the limitations of having both.
Yeah, it's one thing that a lot of people forgot about when they were rating Bolf. They're like, oh my goodness, Bolf is the ultimate anti-aggro tool. And it's like, well, they can still hit your face. It just kills Bolf instead. It doesn't really get to do anything. It buys you some time, but...
The coolest thing that I thought about Bolf was that I thought originally it was the closest thing we had to Spell Taunt. The fact that if spells hit the face, it hit Bolf, so it's almost kind of the same. Really like that mechanic, and I hope that more can be explored in the future. Aaron, of course, picks up Mire Keeper. Not going to be that useful here. He has the Fandral, but only Living Roots to synergize with it. So if he Fandrels, plays Living Root, and Swipe, he has a semblance of a board. His opponent already used Revenge, so perhaps that feels like his best chance to start climbing back. But it's almost slim pickings. He has Ragnaros and Azure Drake remaining as his actual minions for repetitive damage. He's ready to use Moonfires. And he has one of the swipes in hand.
And every turn he doesn't put pressure on, Che0nsu just getting out of range of almost anything that he could possibly do. He does have Ragnaros left in his deck, but that's the only threat he has left. He's been through Malygos, he's been through his Ancient of War, Moonglade Portal, both Arcane Giants, Emperor Thorsan. He's running low. He's got Raven Idols that can pick up a minion, but those minions are going to have to be beefy.
Yes. So in this case, Arcanite Reaper, glorified Fiery War Axe, not really doing much, but I mean, Che0nsu understands his win condition. He can just run Druid out of cards. And Aaron's going to draw a lot more as soon as he picks up the availability to do that. Right now, Mire Keeper number 2, not the most amazing pickup either.
Che0nsu does need to start drawing into more impactful stuff, though. Taskmaster Overspark is pretty risky to use, especially since everything that is played on the board now from Aaron is going to be buffed if it gets changed into a Devil Sword. 14 cards left for Che0nsu, so still hasn't been through that much of his deck. Now if Aaron clears the board, Che0nsu doesn't have a way to deal with a lot of this small stuff.
Yeah, Aaron, of course, not really much to do himself, too. He's just using a lot of weak responses to the board, but interestingly enough, it's actually complicating Che0nsu's answers, too, because things like Taskmaster Overspark get a lot worse when their opponent has a lot of minions. Okay. After the Golden Monkey. I would love to see Che0nsu get the monkey right now.
And just slam it.
Right here.
Slamming monkeys. That's what the kids are calling it nowadays.
I'm pretty sure the current Harambe trend has actually been against that exact thing, TJ.
I'm so sorry.
I resent that statement.
I'm so sorry for anybody who I may have offended. Still jam toads, though.
TJ killed Harambe in 2016. The Che0nsu also has the Doomsayer, which also kind of makes Aaron's turn awkward because he only has 5 damage on board, plus drill power 6.
Ooh, Fandral plus Raven Idol might be able to give Aaron the steam that he needs.
I think he absolutely needs to do this, and the minion that he picks off of it needs to be amazing. I'm thinking that, you know, you have to pick up like a big legendary minion. It's kind of sad that we don't really see Malorn anymore, but this is the instances where it actually be pretty good because you do tend to fatigue a lot and you tend to draw it. It's really funny. But you know, I think Aaron's also mulling over like what kind of ways he can lose on the spot instantly if he does this. If Raven Idol doesn't pick up a way to answer Doomsayer, he's screwed. He can't win. He loses every kind of momentum. He lost his Fandral. He tossed the he loses his 3/2.
But can he also afford to give up the damage? And it looks like he's going to. So he's going to give Che0nsu a free turn in order to guarantee that he gets a little bit more value out of this Fandral.
You know what? I think he's also anticipating that one of his remaining cards is another Raven Idol. Oh, wow!
It's off!
Yeah, it's raining all right. Rain and 2 Death Rattles. Wow, that was actually a lot more underwhelming than I thought it would be. He got it! The second Raven Idol! That's so sick!
Well, is it going to be enough, though? Because Che0n plus...
Yes. Watch this Raven Idol pick up another Raven Idol, TJ.
Okay. A Dark Speaker, a Shield Bearer, and a Tentacle of N'Zoth. Dan, I am thoroughly underwhelmed.
You know what? Shield Bearer can stall an attack. But let's pick it and move on. Mark of the Wild. Huh? All right, Raven Idol number 2. Raven Idol number 2. Can I get another Raven Idol, please? There we go. So, what, Harrison Jones? That would have been amazing. These options are great. Harrison Jones because the Arcanite Reaper exists. Dark Arakoa is really powerful stat-wise, and Cenarius is one of the strongest Druid cards. These were the options you were looking for.
Yeah, it's got to be Cenarius, though. I think he needs just all the beef they can get. Dark Arakoa, maybe, but...
Another mark. Oh, Whispers of the Old Gods is interesting.
Yeah. So, you know, not
like it.
too bad here for the second Raven Idol.
Yeah, not too bad. However, Che0nsu is in a pretty down position. That the N'Zoth, even just summoning 2 minions is very strong. Sure, it is a Death Idol party. Sylvanas hit maybe on the Facebook RSVP a little bit late, but chose to attend anyways. And that's going to be 9 damage, 14 damage if he wants to do this turn. Probably just use his Arcanite Reaper charge.
I don't know. He's at a pretty low health total. He doesn't know
you're right.
what the second spell that picked up was.
That's true. That's true.
I think that just making trades here is going to be better.
Okay. I don't mind it.
Actually, no. Actually, I think using the Execute is better. The only threat that's left in the deck is Rag, and he's going to be playing Sylvanas this turn anyway. So if Rag is played, he's just going to steal it anyway.
Sure.
So unless, you know, the minion that he would want to execute would be the minion that was picked from Raven Idol, which he can't possibly predict what it would be, then using Execute here is better. And he uses it in a way by trading in the 4/5 instead of the Infestatorn that leaves him the most sort of threatening board because of the taunt still in effect.
And this is a little unfortunate that Arian just doesn't have enough to impact the board here. He's staring at 15, 21 damage, and he could put up some health with Cenarius to stall. That's about it. I mean, Dark Speaker here has been largely underwhelming in a lot of board states, especially when your board is clear. So what can you do?
Well, he's dead if he doesn't play Cenarius with taunt, so that has to be the play.
Right.
And he can't even innervate anything. Maybe the choice is, maybe his thought process is whether or not he can innervate a hero power, but...
I think that's it. Gromma should be able to do enough damage here.
It is, yeah. And attack with the 2/3, attack with the weapon. And that is a lot of damage coming from Che0nsu.
I like it. And even though the Arcanite Reaper still, in the end, is nothing more than Fiery War Axe in terms of the actual impact, I like the choices from Che0nsu to mix up his deck. And as a result, he is now booked to the semifinals.
He's also eliminated Southeast Asia's hope of having a representative at the World Championship. So they're going to have to